meeting with BSA, Conversations with Black Staff, hoping to host and hear from folks that have been around for a long time or even a short time and that have a wealth of knowledge and can be a resource to help advance the Black staff experience here at Stanford. And today we have Bettye Price, Director of Finance and Operations in Biology, who recently hit the 40-year service mark, and Michael Mayo, Manager for Thermal Energy Maintenance Systems, who is nearing 38 years, but is at 37 at this point. And so we'll just have an open discussion, really hear from both of them about their career experience here at Stanford and open up the floor to you all at the end. So Bettye, as the vet in the room, perhaps maybe you can talk to us all about your career here at Stanford. You joined in the 80s in biology. Have you been here the whole time?
I have. So first, thanks to Kevin and all of you for inviting me to speak to you briefly, and happy to have Michael on board because I won't have to talk the whole time. So I'm excited about that. I didn't quite know, I mean, my journey here has been 40 years. So I've been thinking over the last week, what do I want to say? And one of the first things I would say is that I'm not going to apologize for this, but because I'm a believer, but excuse me if you're not, but all of my steps are ordered by God. So I pray about everything. So in this message, there have been, I've been really blessed, to be honest with you, over the years. I was hired originally in January of 1981. I was hired as an accounting assistant at that time, and my primary duties were to reconcile grants and contracts, and also I was in charge of the budget, operating budget and endowments, etc. My background is in finance and business, so I've always loved numbers. So I can remember numbers, but I can't really remember a lot of names. That's very strange, but I can really remember numbers. So quickly, I mean, when I went, I'll start back. When I went to the interview, I thought I really blew the interview because the person that interviewed me asked me the first, and it was very weird, and nobody would ask you this, you know, during these times. Do you smoke? And I'm like, no, and I don't like smoke. I don't like to be around smoke. And she said, well, I do. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get this job. So by the time I got home, I was offered the position. And from then, I must have stayed in that position for less than a year. I was quickly promoted to the department accountant. And just right after that, promoted to the assistant manager that was called the ASM. Some of you that's been here a while probably remember that. And after that, I was actually asked to apply for the position that I am in today, which I thought, oh no, I can't do that. That's sort of stretching me a bit. But then I have one child and she was senior in high school. So I said, I'll take a chance at it. My job primarily is over every area of the department. I manage the finances. I mean, I have people working under me, but I'm in charge of finances, student services, facilities, you name it, I do it. I'm blessed to have an incredible staff. I'm very careful as I'm hiring people to make sure that I try to get a fit. It doesn't always work. Sometimes I you know, the wrong person in the wrong job, etc. However, the reason I've stayed so long, to be honest with you, I have had opportunities to go other places on campus, is because of the way I'm treated. And I've been blessed with incredible chairs that I report directly to the chair of the department and indirectly to the dean, the administrative dean in the school. He has another title, I can't remember what it is, but I think, that's what kept me at Stanford in biology. I refuse to work somewhere I'm not respected. I agree to disagree to things, but I feel like I'm treated as a colleague rather than talked down to. There have been good times, bad times. There have been disagreements, but I would not have stayed somewhere for 40 years that I was not happy at. I will say that some of the things that I would offer to you to is one of the things that I've done since I came to campus was to learn everything I could. I'm always sticking my nose into something different, trying to make sure that I'm ready for that next move. The move I'm in now, my next move would be retirement, but trying to make sure that I keep myself abreast on what's going on, regardless of what it is. If you think you know research administration, those people that are on the call that do it know that you have to stay abreast of every change every day. And making sure you're the best at what you do, and making sure that you take the necessary courses. As you all know, there are a lot of courses on campus, making sure that you get your network. Networking is really important. There are so many colleagues that are, all of you on this call, that are brilliant people out there that can help you build your network of people that can assist you in what nobody knows everything. I've been here 40 years and I'm still asking questions. But I do have colleagues across campus. I have colleagues within my department, within the school. Like, what are you going to do about this? Right now, we're discussing what are you going to do about commencement, now that we're not going to have in person. So, I mean, everything you do, I believe that you don't have to be alone and it's okay to ask questions. So I've always asked a lot of questions. Why are we doing this? The person that was in my position when I first came to Stanford, she was one of those type people. She was not one to tell me why I was doing things. It was just like, do this, do that, do this. And I'm like, this doesn't work for me. So I took the initiative to go back and look at information, study at night. I wanted to figure out, she was just saying, and at 69%. And I'm like, what is that? So I figured out that was the indirect cost. And then you need your, your fringe benefits and different things like that. So I found that a lot of times you have to make your own way by investigating different things up on your own, and you can do it. And I was always told from a small kid, from my mom and dad, is that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And also, they've always taught me the Christian values of keeping God first in everything, and the other stuff will follow. So I really believe that you have to apply yourself as well. My dad's favorite scripture, work without faith is dead, and faith without work is dead. So I believe that you have to put in that hard work, and you have to study, and you have to, you can't be dated. As systems change, you learn that system. As things change, you learn that. But I truly believe that I was also somehow blessed and favored to be able to be promoted quickly each time and take on. I got bored too, by the way. And the best part of my job are the people at Stanford and the people I work with. Have I had disagreements? Yes. Do I agree with everything people say? No. But I've learned to be a very good listener, and I'm slow to speak. I remember one time I just knew the answer was going to be no, but I never just break out. And when someone faculty asks me something, I don't just say no. I go back, I research it. And you should always make sure that you have the documentation to prove what you're saying. you know the policy, or you know where to go and find the policy. And this is where your colleagues can help you as well. Sometimes I'll call one of my friends on campus and say, I know we're not supposed to do this. I can't remember, because as you guys know, Stanford has too many systems. I mean, you know that, and guides say this and something say this or whatever. And this is where when you're networking with people, they'll say, oh, I know exactly where that is, so that you don't have to. And then you're able to come back later when you can say, faculty, we can't do this. Basically, I refuse to knowingly break a rule or a regulation. So I would come back and say, we won't be able to do this, but I always try my best to offer a solution. How about this? This is something that we can actually legally do. So my journey has been, challenging at times. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a lot of hard work. I put in the work because I really, felt like that's what I had to do. For some reason, I've always thought, I have to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I need to know the policy. I need to know the updates. And as things are changing now, we recently, well, not recently, over the months, we had to quickly, which required me and my facilities manager to actually, some of you guys may know him, Mayo. He's worked at Stanford for a while, and we had to quickly put together information to move all of our researchers back to campus and following all of the Stanford and CDC guidelines. I must say we successfully did that, but it was a lot of hard work to get it done. And basically, that's kind of my story, is that I just believe in staying abreast. I believe in leaning on my colleagues. And I know nobody wants you to call them every day, like, how do I do this or whatever. I do know my job, but I do feel like networking has been really, really valuable to me. I think especially if you're angry, cool off and be slow to speak. But I'm not bashful either. Even with my chair, I speak, I have to let her know when I don't agree with something. I don't think it's okay to go along with something. I really feel that I come back and say, no, we shouldn't do this. And the reason we shouldn't do this. And that's how you gain the respect of your supervisors or your managers, is that I don't think people are looking for people that necessarily agree with them. I think they're looking for someone that can keep them out of the San Jose Mercury, or they're looking for someone that knows what they're talking about. And sometimes, as I said before, I have to agree to disagree. However, I'm always able to tell them why. And I am really proud of the respect that I get from them. I don't know, some of you may know, but I'm also very involved with Carnegie Institution, as well as Hopkins Marine Station down in Pacific Grove. Our graduate students are in both places as well. So I get to actually, well, not over the past year, but spend time down there. But that would be my advice. Know your job well, know what you want to do, love what you do. If you love what you do, then you'll do it well. I love helping students. I love helping the faculty. I love it when I sign off on a grant proposal and it's funded. I love, I can't explain it, but it's a great feeling. I feel like I'm making a big difference in students' lives, in postdocs' lives, in faculty lives. I feel like I've been very well treated and appreciated, to be honest with you. I know this is not what happens across campus. I have a lot of friends on campus, so I know I'm pretty, that's why I say I think I'm a little bit, well, I'm a lot blessed, but I'm also favored, because I just kind of kept getting promoted, and I didn't even really have to ask for it. My managers would say, "I see potential in you." So I was in the right place, seemed like to me, that at the right time. But I do feel like I did work very hard. So any questions?
That's actually fantastic. I have a few questions for you, Bettye, and for both you and Mike, maybe to give some context to both your experiences. But Mike has a really unique role, and it made me curious about the attendees for today and where you all are at Stanford. So I'm going to launch a quick poll. If you all can take this poll so we can see, where we're coming from, how long we've been at Stanford. I'll give you just a couple minutes to do that before we hear from Mike with some basic details about his Stanford journey. A newbie in the house, less than a year. And thank you, Bettye, for sharing all of that. It sounds like you had definitely some champions throughout your career. And as somebody pointed out in the chat, you have definitely been celebrated. You received several awards throughout your career. And it's really quite amazing that you've been able to last in biology that long and experience as much career progression as you have. I'll give you all just another moment to finish the survey before I share the results with you. All right, we got about half. All right, so we got 4 people that are totally new in the house. Can you all see these results as well?
Yes.
Okay. Got some long timers, 6 of you over 20 years. That's awesome. I'm really curious about the leadership scope for some of you. That's great. A lot of administrative. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Got some HR folks in the group. Oh, thanks for taking that. Mr. Mayo, tell us a little bit about your career here at Stanford. You too joined in the 80s and you've been in LBRE and you have a really, really interesting role. So tell us a little bit about the transition for Stanford with their reducing carbon footprint and creating what is now the Central Energy Facility.
Sure. I'd like to start off and kind of go back to what brought me to Stanford and kind of like my journey of my upbringing. And I also want to note one of my daughters, I believe she's in the audience. She actually is a Stanford employee. She works for the School of Medicine. So first of all, I want to say hello, family. I'm honored to be asked to participate in this conversation. Yes, 37 plus years, and so many folks to thank for my journey of memories. And worked a long time side by side with Mr. Hutcherson, and we've actually had a lot of things that we've accomplished together. I grew up as an Air Force brat. My father did 20 years in the Air Force. We moved around every 2 to 3 years until I was about 12, then finally settled in Seattle, Washington. I have a lot of early memories of my parents providing me with solid building blocks in tackling the world ahead. As a child, born and raised in the 60s, living in the South. I'm sure there's folks on this call that are actually can probably understand what I'm going through or have gone through. My father dealt with, the segregation and a lot of experiences of fear, trying to watch over his family and take care of us. And that also had a lot to do with my adjustments. Staples that my parents shared with me, first of all, understanding your work ethics reflects who you are. Secondly, do your part to make success. And third, love the way that you want to be loved in every way. So that brought a mindset to me to do what you do when no one is looking. And I want to share that. Always think that you have to show yourself in that way. It should be not about you benefiting. It should be about your contributions, and that's how your reward is measured. Prior to Stanford, like I said, I was in Seattle. I was a shipbuilder. I was a chef. I was a king crab fisherman, just like you see on TV with the deadliest catch. I did that. You could say I got to Stanford by chance. I actually was out doing a leisure drive from Seattle to LA. My brother lived in LA, and I found out about Stanford having an opening. It was a gentleman had just left shortly, and I found out about a job. I was fortunate that that I heard about it, and I applied, and I always saw Stanford as being compared to USC and to Harvard. And so I had, I was very happy to know that I had a chance on getting in there. I actually got up and I was interviewed by the steam shop supervisor for the job, and also the plumbing shop supervisor. I immediately felt the impact and learned what it meant to give back. When I first came to Stanford, my direct supervisor was a Black man, L.A. Breckenridge, and some of you on the call might know him. I'm sure Estee's on here. She knows him. And he was my direct supervisor. And one thing that I saw was he showed how to give back. He actually participated in what's called the Stanford Youth Opportunity Program, YOP, and SD Hall and Judy Ray actually were administrators for this program. And so I got to see how he brought in students between the age of 14 to 17 to give them a place to learn. And these were a lot of kids, a lot of different ethnic backgrounds and things like this. So mentoring became very important, and it's very special. And I kind of learned from that as a young father. I would even bring my daughters to Stanford and to show them what I did, and to see the campus and understand growth and understand their futures. Later, I became a union steward. I was a steward for about 20 years. I chaired committees on the local level and also on the Bay Area level with the African American caucuses. One charge we took on was to identify 6 high school students, and we began introducing them to a few role models in many careers. Some of the role models were ex-mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown. We actually got to bring the students up and actually met with Willie in his office in City Hall, which was a treat. He was a very colorful man. Got to meet with Ronnie Lott, Professor Claiborne Carson at that time. He actually met with the kids. We also did a lot of ground laying work for working with other nonprofits like the Haitian relief organizations. The reason I illustrate this is I just wanted to point out of the giving back. Now working in LBRE, I work at the Central Energy Facilities since 2015. As Jocelyn mentioned, steam was brought to Stanford about 1891 or 1890. It took that long to finally get off of steam about 2015. and to try to reduce the carbon footprint. There is very little steam left for process in some of the School of Medicine and science buildings left. So over at the Central Inn facility, I embrace a culture of what all of LBRE and Stanford as a whole should resemble. Our managerial level is represented by 2 of 5 Black operations supervisor, 1 thermal energy manager, 1 high volt manager, but we are less represented in the rank and file at the CEF, and so I'm always hoping that we can do better there. Although possibly most of the jobs that were attained by other employees are the new jobs that have come in the last couple of years, were probably due to a lot of more of technical abilities. And so I think through the BAC, we're striving to try to kind of help out with that as far as in the selection process and be more involved. My experiences, my experiences through my career to date have been great. I really enjoy coming to work and performing my job. I really enjoy sharing and understanding the willingness of not always having to be the head, leading everything. If I could share one important piece of advice to a young Mike Mayo, would be to increase your reading. I'm not a great reader. I'm first to admit. I'd rather watch a movie. I always found out that there are no bad learners, only teachers who don't have the skills to teach that individual. My family has benefited greatly over the years from many benefits and opportunities here. The environment at LBRE, facilities operations to some of you old timers, and my love for Stanford sports has kind of kept me really balanced here. Besides taking vacations as much as I can. I pride myself on being a sports addict. I've been with Stanford football for about 20 years now, since 1991. So that's part of my passion. As we look to the future, as far as the department, I think we're on the right direction, especially with the Black Advisory Committee, and I'm proud to be on that committee and making a lot of progress on our inaugural year here. So that's pretty much what I have. Like I was telling you, I'm glad that my daughter actually is in the audience. If there's one thing that I could pass on to someone in their early days or early years of Stanford, I would say pride. Learn how to exhibit your pride. Your enthusiasm should reflect your willingness to learn, perform, and share. At times, you will need to swallow your pride and take criticism if they come your way. My motto has always been, I can take constructive criticism with the understanding that a conversation still may need to take place. I'll leave it there.
That's fantastic, Mike. And I'm glad that you highlighted the Mauritius here. I actually have experience working with Marisha, and she is a really, really bright woman. And so maybe that's a great segue into a question that I have for both of you, to talk about how you've balanced your career at Stanford and growth with family. That's one of the challenges for professionals, is finding that balance. So Bettye, Mike, maybe you can share with us some of the nuggets of wisdom and lessons you've learned along the way for striking some balance in your personal life.
I guess I'll go, since I still kind of got the mic. So I was kind of in my early stages. I actually tried to raise a family, and everybody knows how the Bay Area is as far as the cost of living. So I'm one of those people that had to move out to Modesto and you know, to try to get some quality. And my daughters were raised out in Modesto, going to school there, did their finished their elementary schools and their high schools out there. But my travels, that 2 hours, you know, one way to work, you know, was pretty devastating on me. It actually cost me a divorce during that time. Um, the So the balance was pretty difficult, and you know, Mauricia might want to talk about it. It's probably nightmares to relive it, but you know, sometimes Dad would leave at 4 in the morning and get home at 6 at night. You know, with those type of travels working this shift. So those balances are pretty tough, but you know, the quality time that I would make outside of that, or bringing them to work, or bringing them and they'll tell you I brought them to a lot of sporting events because and also other travels, you know, touring around California or around Washington State, as well as uh, you know, travels across the country. You know, we were fortunate that we actually got to take a walk through the White House 2 months before 9/11 happened. You know, so in July of that year, we actually got the tour of the White House. So a lot of good family experiences. Um, and She is a college graduate off the Stanford tuition, and so is her sister, Stanford college graduate off Stanford tuition, which I'm very pleased with, and yes.
Bettye, anything to add to how you balance your career and personal life?
Yes. So family is extremely important to me. And sometimes it's hard to balance, but I have one daughter. She's an adult, of course, now. She also benefited from the Stanford tuition, but I really put a balance to my family and my work. That's just so important to me. So I will. I don't have to do it now as much because I don't have a young child, but I would, when I had extra work for Stanford, I would actually wait sometimes until she was asleep before I would finish some of that work. And I would try and balance things where that I would be able to make her activities at her school. Sometimes it had to be honest with you, split between me and her dad. We both didn't always make the same, you know, especially since I had this job. We both wouldn't have been able to make the same things. The key was at the time that she was growing up, I was in a job that had a little bit more flexibility than this job has. So when I was a department accountant, I could kind of balance that, if you will, and make sure that I was able to be home at a decent time. Sometimes I may leave home before she goes to school and my husband would drop her off. But I do feel that the balance there is critical for me personally. And I was fortunate enough to live pretty close. I didn't have the commute that Michael had. If I had had to commute, I wouldn't have been able to to do some of the things that I was able to do. But it is a hard balance in trying to do, you know, work, keeping up with deadlines as well. So, but I just had to make it happen because I had to be there for my daughter. So, and I didn't want her dad to always be there and me not be there. So I had to show up. So I made some sacrifices to sleep in order to do that. It was not easy, but yeah, I did it. while I have your attention, I am very proud of, I heard Michael say about his department. I'm so proud that we finally have a diversity and inclusion committee, of which I'm a part of in the Department of Biology. And I'm very, very happy that we have 2 African-American professors that's coming on board July 1st. So I am thrilled. Some of you may have heard of them, Christopher Barnes and Naima Sharaf. They're both coming from Caltech. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Bettye and Mike. You both have woven into the recollection of your career some information about the role of mentorship and inspiration. And maybe, Bettye, this is a good question for you. As you mentioned nearing retirement, maybe you're thinking about succession planning. So for those that are here that are earlier in their career, maybe you can speak to the sort of qualities that you think are essential. You know, if you were choosing your successor today, what are some of the standout traits that you would be looking for?
I would be looking for someone that a people lover. I mean, you gotta love people to be in this position because you just have to, but someone with compassion, someone that's really devoted to people. I know I keep saying that, but in this position, you really have to be. I think it's important that anyone in this position is financially savvy. If you don't like numbers, you have people working for you, but they work for Stanford, but you know, supporting you. However, it's important you understand the numbers. You understand how to audit things. You understand what's going on. It's just like your own checking account. If you you wouldn't let anybody loose with your checking account, and you know, you may have someone managing your portfolio, but I think it's important you know what's going on with that portfolio. I think, you know, leadership skills is very critical because you are leading a large department. You are a very diverse department. So I think it's important that you have those skills. Flexibility, you got to be able to deal with change. Any of you that's been here even for a short while know we had to quickly, you know, during the pandemic, leave campus to, you know, get your work done and everything. You got to be able to deal with flexibility. Hardworking, you got to be able to be flexible in what you're doing. You may have to change. You know, you thought you were going to work on this today, you're not going to work on this today. So you always have to be proactive, because you never know when you're going to have, you know, an issue with the staff, postdoc met with the faculty, or whatever. So something often comes up. So you have to, with your deadlines, you have to always be proactive. You won't survive if you procrastinate. Because it's just not going to work in a leadership. We're actually larger than the whole School of Earth. So biology is pretty big. So you would have to be organized. I said this once, but very analytical because you're constantly balancing, you know, how many graduate students can you bring? Can you afford to do this? What is your 5-year forecast? With the changes over the last year, for a while now, the endowments are better. Once the endowments were not doing well, what are you going to cut out? How are you going to cut that out of your budget? How are you going to distribute these duties that this staff person was doing to another staff person? And you really need to be fair. In everything you do, have high integrity and treat people the way you would like to be treated.
Fantastic advice. Mike, feel free to add anything in there. I have more questions for you.
She said a mouthful, and I echo a lot of what she said. So I think the what stands out to me that I've seen over probably the last decade at least is the Stanford onboarding process. And there's some work to do. Let's put it like that way. I know to get there, you know, the part to find your successor or help out with that is there's a lot of reference checking and things like this. But the onboarding is as far as how to turn it over and how to share, you know, if somebody's already there and working in a lower level position and you're bringing them up, you know, mentoring or whatever. I think there's a lot to say about that and making sure that the experiences that we know, that we make sure we point them in the right direction of the different trainings that they need to do and go to. So I agree. There's a lot of what Bettye said has to do with budget and schedules. You know, a lot of you on this call that I see some names here that I've worked pretty close with as far as on your projects or being responsible for your buildings and stuff. I think I you know, I definitely pass on to that person, you know, you got to treat the little things just like you would the big things. You know, you got to really pay attention to detail, because those things don't get done. You know, procrastination or you know, all of a sudden somebody else has got to pick it up. So I think that those are probably the keys there. Bettye, you said a lot.
That's actually a great segue, Mike, to another question that I have for both of you. Since you're talking about the onboarding process, if you thought back long ago to your very first day at Stanford, what would you tell yourself?
First of all, I'm going to go even further back just to show you a little difference. So in my shipbuilding days, my first day on the job, I was on the back of this ship with a t-shirt and tennis shoes on the Puget Sound. It was unheard of. They should have never let me on that ship. And these was a construction. They were building this ship. And now I look back to coming to Stanford, and I just remember, you know, the different culture. I remember working with a gentleman, Larry Glaudry, that started out the right way. You know, he says, you take this book and you write everything down you see, and that's how you learn. And he said, this is my book. You create your own book. And so, you know, and just like, you know, what I'm sure most of you do, you take notes. And that's the first thing that I learned when I got here, is you have to not wait. You got to take notes. You got to be diligently studying and stay ahead of it. So I think that's what I can add there. It's like somebody got the screen.
Thank you, Jocelyn. So my very first day at work, I have to be honest with you in saying that I didn't think that the department, the person that was training me was ready for me or organized at all. So I quickly figured out that I needed to take charge of my own learning or whatever I needed to do. She sat with me for, I think it was 2 weeks, saying, do this, do that, not giving me any background on why I was doing it. I had never, I knew, the good news is that I knew numbers well, but the bad news is that I didn't know anything about Stanford. I didn't know anything about indirect cost. I didn't know anything about fringe benefits and why are we charging this and et cetera. You know, so I needed to know all of that in order to be successful at my job. And I quickly figured that out after day one. So I actually ended up speaking to the manager of the department, saying, do you have any material that I can read? And at that time, we didn't have computers. So it wasn't like you could go home and get on the computer and do a search. It was all paper. So I actually took the initiative probably through the next few weekends, and the manager actually took me under her wings and explained to me that next week, you just need to do this budget. You do, and this is why, and this is what indirect cost is. And boy, what an eye opener. So I took the binder she gave me and I actually went through it. And that's when the ball started rolling. To be honest with you, I was very happy when my predecessor's last day was, so I could get her out of my way and I could really get my feet wet. So I would say that the onboarding, as far as I was concerned, is not the way I onboard my staff. I onboard my staff right now. We have a whole itinerary, a whole list of trainings, what you train on first, you know, one-on-one section. I mean, they know what they're doing when we're done with them. I would have just, I don't know, I would have been so happy to have something like that. So it taught me a lesson. As you're training people, make sure you're prepared. Make sure when someone comes, their computer is all set up. They know what training they need to do first. Who's going to meet with them? Who's going to do the one-on-ones? What classes do they need to take? I didn't get any of that, but I will say that it forced me to actually do it myself, because I go back to my training of a child is you can do this. So I have a lot of confidence in myself, you can probably tell. So I just had to make it work, but the onboarding, and I agree, the onboarding right now in a lot of places it needs work. It really does. And this is before the pandemic. It's just, so, I mean, within our department, we've worked on it really hard. And I think we do a good job of onboarding our staff and making sure that they have all of the trainings that they need. So no, I didn't really enjoy my first day of work.
Sorry to hear that, but you have obviously come back to have a stellar career at Stanford. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to open up to the floor. If anybody has any questions, raise your hand, unmute yourself, type it into chat. Anything you want to pose to Mike and Bettye? Wealth of knowledge here. Chime in.
You know, I have a question for both of you. From hearing the conversations early on, it sounds like to keep it simple, it's don't be afraid to ask questions and have your eyes and ears open. Not necessarily speaking so much, but make sure you're paying attention to your surroundings, and then performing a network, gathering folks that's close to you so you can get more information about the particular position that you're in right now. And I've also can share my experience has been too, by having that network that can help you move possibly to the next position that you may have your eye on. So there may be something that's out there that you don't know about, but then because of your network, they can provide that information for you and then kind of guide you in that direction. So again, thank you both for sharing. This is fantastic. It's a lot more information than what I thought I was going to hear from you. So thank you.
Kevin, I would add to, you made a very good point. One of the questions that I forgot to say that I asked, if you're interested in a position, you should be asking the question is, what do I need to know? What courses do I need to take? And you may already be ready for it, and they can just say, well, I think you're ready now. I mean, I recently told one of my staff that, and guess what? She just got promoted. I don't know if I should have did that right now, but she basically, and during the Zoom party, I told the faculty, I said, this is probably my fault, because I told her, you're ready. And she say, "Are you sure?" I say, "I'm positive you've been ready." And so now she's in the School of Medicine and I'm recruiting, but I'm very happy for her. But I think that's one of the questions that if you're not sure you're ready, a lot of times you're already ready for those positions. You just have to step out and do it. You have what it takes. And if you're told no the first time, don't give up. Try again, because there are a lot of people competing for positions. So just because you don't get it the first time, it does not mean that you were not qualified for it. You just need to keep trying, and I promise you, you will rise to the top. But if you give up and say, "Oh, I can't do this. I don't think I have what it takes," you probably have more than what it takes. So just have those conversations and keep trying.
I see a question here that's asking about networking, how you establish a network, and you know, I believe that you need to start somewhere. So, you know, your your coworker, you got to start somewhere. So, when you don't get the answer, then you got to go somewhere else. Eventually, hopefully you find a safe haven like the BSA, like the BAC, and if you have to, you might have to go to UHR, just there's resourcing out there, but if you're trying to start, depends on what type of network you're trying to start. So, I've been very, very privileged that I've been in a lot of different networks, all the way from my union experiences, from being on negotiating teams with the union, to being a shop steward on executive committees, and as well as lately helping to be on committees and the hiring of the LBRE director, and also the SEM director. So I've been kind of really privileged to be on these kind of committees. So I think when you talk about network, I think what can you handle, what can you put on your plate, and it's a lot of that. So I think that people see you as long as you're focused and you're doing what you need to do. And and I'm sure that you need to acknowledge what you can handle and what you can't handle. Sometimes like any of us, we have too much on our plate. So I talk to my director all the time, and I give him the feedback on as early in the game as I can, of what's too much. And I think that's also one thing. You can't do everything, and some people feel that they have to do it because, I hate to use this term, but it makes them look good. No, that's not what you want. And Bettye is a prime example. 40 years, it ain't just because she's trying to look good. She's she got some passion, and I can tell by listening to her talking. I'm telling you, I know I have some passion, that I really enjoy being here and doing what I do and contribute. And it's
That
hard,
pairs
sometimes it's
really
hard for me to say no to a lot of things that I do. It's hard for me sometimes to say no to being asked things, and I'll attempt to do what I can. And I want to kind of say one thing, that an experience that happened in Kevin, because right before the BSA, we used to do kind of something kind of locally at Bon Air. And Kevin, you probably remember this. We used to have a lot of sessions, a lot of outings and stuff, and we used to, I guess what I'm trying to get to is the respect part. So I just want to just point out that always show respect, and that's how you get respect back. Go ahead.
That's great, Michael. Thank you. And I think that pairs well in answering Patricia's question with what Bettye said about keep trying. And I love that Marisha jumped into chat I think that's a wonderful example of, if you keep trying, there are definitely people who are willing to share information, resources, network with you. And as I mentioned at the start of today's program, this is meant to be one of many, many sessions. And we're really interested to hear from you all what more programming will help advance your career. So I'm going to launch one more poll, if you will, and just take a moment to consider, especially for those of you young in your career, how BSA can support your growth. We can channel resources, time, pull together programs that will really support you. So please do chime in with the things that interest you. And Mimi, I'm going to ping you. I have one hand raised while we're closing out. Mimi, do you have a question? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, my name is Mimi Pearson, and I jumped on about a half an hour ago, invited by a good friend of mine, Patricia, and I know Mike and Patricia very well, and a couple other people on the talk also. Really enjoyed what you, Michael, and Betty had to say. I'm asking, just as an African-American mother, maybe you can give me some information I can pass on to my daughter because she's at work. 25-year-old, soon to be 26-year-old college graduate, went to Eastside College Prep, graduated from St. Edward's, not to give a long story, but she's been a manager at Nordstrom's, Stanford for the last 4 years. And I know with a lot of jobs now, it's not what you know, is who you know, and to get certain positions. And I'm just want to try to find out how to navigate into her to get into the, because she loves working at Nordstrom's, of course, but she's trying to get out into the, the .com world or whatever kind of, she graduated with a bachelor's in psychology and Spanish. And so she's bilingual. And so I'm just trying to navigate with her and help her. And she's been doing a lot too on her own, but it's just realizing like nothing's pan out. And I know something will come up. I know something will, I know, but she's just, she works so much that she doesn't have time to do a lot of the footwork. So just as a parent and, and just get some information, or just for, if not even Stanford, wherever, jobs, with some advice that you can give, that where she can go or where she can start from. She's good in all areas in computer, and she's just sharp. There's a few people on this call who can vouch for that, but yes, somebody can help.
I think that's a great question, Mimi. And in the interest of time, I think maybe take a look at the people that were sharing in chat. I, for one, am willing to be a resource and would be happy to hear more about what your daughter is interested in or where her skill set lies. As you can see from the poll results that I'm sharing with you all, it looks like there's a lot of interest in job shadowing opportunities, and a mentorship program with the BSA chairs are discussing reinvigorating. And I think that those will be great opportunities for people to explore different career tracks or jump career tracks if they're so interested. And so I just want to thank Betty and Mike for joining us today, sharing your experience. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. This session was recorded, so if you joined late, feel free to go back and review that. There was some discussion about exactly what you just posed, Mimi. And so thanks everybody for joining. Ping us if you want to participate in future sessions.
Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.